A long time ago, in the heart of a lush, untamed jungle that stretched beyond what the eye could see, there was a kingdom known as Za'ara. Its vast lands were divided by the mighty, glittering river Okomo, which ran through the heart of the realm like a vein of pure silver, snaking through the dense trees, casting a mystical light in the early morning hours. The river was not only the lifeblood of Za'ara but a source of legend and wonder. The people of the kingdom spoke in hushed tones about the river's secretive nature, and even their kings and queens dared not approach its deepest reaches without understanding the dangers it held. In this kingdom lived 5 royal children, each as unique and radiant as the stars that dotted the evening sky. Their names were Kosi, Esh, Amara, Jatu, and Leela. These siblings, born in the same moment, under the same sun, were more than just heirs to the throne. They were the chosen ones of a prophecy foretold long ago. Each had been marked with a sun-shaped symbol on their foreheads at birth, a mark that was said to signify the blessings of the gods themselves. Their parents, King Tarik and Queen Oma, had raised them with love, but also with strict warnings about the dangers that lay beyond the walls of their palace, particularly concerning the mysterious river Okomo. Remember, their father would say, the river is both a giver and a taker. It harbors secrets that no man should seek to understand. The heart of the river, where the silver snakes dwell, is a place of forbidden power. No one, not even royalty, should venture there. Despite these warnings, as the children grew, a curious bond formed between them and the river, its secrets calling to them with an irresistible pull. Kosi, the eldest, was often the ringleader of their adventures, her eyes full of wonder and defiance. She would often sit at the palace's edge, gazing out at the river, imagining the mysteries it held. It was on the eve of their 15th birthday that she gathered her siblings together, her heart filled with a wild idea. "We've been kept away from the Okomo our entire lives," she whispered to her brothers and sisters. "But why? The river isn't just some place of danger, it holds power. Maybe it's time we learned about it, faced it for ourselves." Esh, the thoughtful and cautious one, hesitated. But father's warning was clear. He told us not to go. What if there's more to the river's secrets than we understand? What if we're not meant to know? Amara, always eager to embrace adventure, shook her head. "We'll never know unless we go. We can handle whatever comes. We're strong together." Jatu, the quiet one, looked at his siblings, his eyes betraying his unease. "I don't know. The river has always been a mystery. It's dangerous." But Leela, the youngest and often the voice of reason, spoke up. "If we don't go, we'll always wonder. Maybe it's time we found out for ourselves." And so, driven by a mix of curiosity and defiance, the royal children slipped away under the cover of darkness, their hearts racing with anticipation. They made their way to the edge of the river, where the jungle grew dense and wild, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and the sound of distant animal calls. The closer they got, the more the river seemed to pulse with an energy that was both inviting and foreboding. When they reached the riverbank, the sight before them was breathtaking. The water shimmered with an ethereal glow, casting reflections that danced like stars in the night sky. It was as if the river itself was alive, swirling with an ancient power. At the heart of the river, they could see the outline of something massive and serpentine, its scales gleaming like molten silver. The legend of the silver snakes was true, and they were more magnificent than any of them had imagined. As the children approached the water, a voice, deep and resonant, echoed from the river itself. "You dare to enter the forbidden waters?" The silver snakes rose from the depths, their eyes glowing with an ancient light. They were not mere creatures, they were beings of immense power, guardians of the river's deepest secrets. Kosi, filled with a mixture of awe and determination, stepped forward. "We seek knowledge. We wish to understand what lies within the heart of the Okomo. The silver snake, whose eyes glimmered with wisdom, turned its gaze upon her. The river grants blessings to those who respect its boundaries. But you, young royals, have crossed the line. You will not be punished with curses, but instead, you shall face trials that will test your strength, your will, and your hearts. Only then will you understand the true power of the Okomo. The first trial was for Kosi, who had always been driven by her desire for adventure. The snake challenged her to find a hidden gem, one that was said to be the key to the river's deepest magic. But she was warned that she must not be swayed by the false gems that lay in her path. Many would appear, each more dazzling than the last. Yet only one would lead her to the truth. Kosi hesitated for only a moment before she plunged into the task, her heart pounding with excitement. The false gems tempted her at every turn, their colors bright and alluring, but she resisted. After what seemed like an eternity, Kosi found the true gem, a simple, unassuming stone, its glow gentle but pure. As she held it in her hands, the river seemed to hum with approval, and Kosi knew she had passed her trial. Next was Esh, whose mind was her greatest asset but also her greatest flaw. The snake presented her with a riddle, one that could not be solved with intellect alone. Esh's thoughts raced, but the more she thought, the more tangled the riddle became. At last, she realized that the answer lay not in logic but in intuition. Trusting her heart, she spoke the answer aloud, and the river stirred with recognition. Amara, the fearless one, faced her own challenge. She was tasked with crossing a mystical barrier, one that could only be passed if she learned to ask for help. Her pride had often prevented her from seeking others' assistance, but now, she had no choice. She turned to her siblings and, for the first time, humbly asked for their guidance. Together, they crossed the barrier, and the river swirled in approval. Jatu, whose quiet nature often kept him in the background, was faced with a storm. The river had grown turbulent, threatening to flood the kingdom. The snake instructed him to calm the storm, but he could not do it alone. It was only when he found his voice, speaking words of peace and clarity, that the storm began to subside. His inner strength had been tested, and he had passed. Finally, it was Lela's turn. The peacemaker of the group, she was tasked with reconciling two river spirits who had been at odds for centuries. The spirits were fierce, their anger palpable, but Lela listened with compassion, helping them to see each other's pain. Slowly, they began to mend their broken bond, and the river's waters calmed. With their trials complete, the siblings returned to the riverbank, changed. They had faced their fears, overcome their weaknesses, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever. The silver snakes, impressed by their growth, bestowed upon each sibling a silver shell, a symbol of their journey and their new understanding of the river's power. Years passed, and the royal children ruled Za'ara with wisdom and courage, always mindful of the lessons they had learned by the Okomo River. But their story did not end there. One day, a king from a distant land arrived, having heard of the legendary silver snakes. His eyes gleamed with ambition. He believed that capturing one of the snakes would grant him unmatched power. The king, under the guise of friendship, was welcomed with a grand feast. But as soon as the festivities were over, he snuck away to the forbidden waters, intent on capturing a snake. Kosi, now the queen, caught him in the act. "Great king," she said calmly, "the snakes are not for you to take. They are a part of our kingdom, a part of nature itself. To take them would be to disrupt the balance." The king, caught in his greed, was momentarily ashamed. But Lela, ever the peacemaker, suggested a solution. "Instead of taking, let us celebrate what we all have. Let us show each other the beauty of our lands and our cultures." A grand festival was held, with games of skill, strength, and intellect. The river spirits, moved by the sincerity of the competition, appeared in a brilliant display of light and water. The two kingdoms celebrated their shared respect for nature, and the visiting king left, not with a snake, but with a newfound respect for the delicate balance of the world. The siblings' kingdom remained prosperous, and their tale of trials, humility, and respect for nature was passed down through the generations. The silver shells they received from the river remained a symbol of their courage and growth, a reminder to all that true power lies not in domination, but in harmony with the world around us.